Well, hey there, y'all. This is Bubba Batman back with you to share another story. It's been a little while since I got to be with y'all, but me and Brother Jerry both, we've been really kind of tied up trying to get hunting season all wrapped up. And Brother Jerry had a real good season. He killed 3 good bucks and his limited dose, got the meat in the freezer to eat on this year and everything. We both got all our hunting clothes put away and all the guns cleaned up and put back and stored away in the safe for till next season. And anyway, everything good. We kind of getting fishing and stuff on our mind a little bit. And as a matter of fact, today's story is going to be a fishing story. Goes way back, and actually it's about Brother Jerry's little brother named Todd, and I've told about him here in a few, so I believe we'll put him up there. Yeah. Anyway, he a long time ago made a decision to try something, and didn't really work out too good for him. I'm going to share that story about him here in a minute. But anyway, when we go fishing, things don't necessarily turn out the way we want them to. Have all kind of difficulties to do with. Here's a picture of Todd back several years ago when he had a real bad backlash with he wasn't real happy about that. And then here's another picture Brother Jerry found of him on a lake there by Brother Jerry's house. He's out fishing, and he seemed to have some consistent trouble getting his boat stuck. And his boat would run up on a stub sticking up in the lake, and he couldn't get it off. Brother Jerry come around the corner, and there he was, just stranded. And Brother Jerry, being the supportive brother that he was, had to get his camera out and take a picture of that. But anyway, this is a story that happened to him when he got his big boat stuck up on the Tennessee River one time. You see, Brother Jerry had a man that attended his church. It was a big fisherman. They got to be real good friends, and they fished together and hunted together some. And he's moved away up into Tennessee right now, but back when he was living down here with Brother Jerry going to church with him, he'd go up every spring, early in March, during spring break week, I think he said, and he and a friend of his would go and camp or actually stay in a hotel all week up in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and fish the Tennessee River below the spillway at Wilson Dam, and would fish with spinning tackle and use hair jigs and grubs and fish the current and bouncing jigs across the bottom. They just load the boat up with fish. I mean, all kind. You never knew what you was going to catch. You'd catch largemouth, smallmouth. Sometimes it'd be a drum or a stripe or a Kentucky. But anyway, they just have a lot of fun. They'd catch some days over 100 fish, but had a lot of fun. Well, told Brother Jerry about it, and Brother Jerry tried it one time and enjoyed it, but he told his brother Todd about it. Todd decided he was going to do it. Now, this story takes place somewhere around in about 2007 or 8, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was in March, about that same time, and Todd had a friend named Nathan, and he asked Nathan would he want to go with him and try that kind of fishing up there on the river. And Nathan said, "Well, yeah." So they got everything loaded and they headed off up there. Now, Brother Jerry at the time, he was working as hospice chaplain for the medical center, and he remembers it very well. It's one of those moments like, where were you when JFK was shot, or what? You remember exactly what was going on when 9/11 occurred and all that. Well, Brother Jerry remembered exactly where he was and what happened when he got a phone call from his brother this morning. He was sitting in his office. It was on a Tuesday morning, about the first week of March. And Brother Jerry picked up the phone, and his little brother said, "You ain't gonna believe what's going on right now, what I'm doing." He said, "I'm standing here. I went fishing, but I'm standing with one foot on dry ground, and my other foot is up on the prop of my motor." Said my whole boat, motor, and everything is on dry ground, and there ain't no water nowhere around it. And Brother Jerry was kind of puzzled about that. He said, well, why is it like, how did you get it like that? Could that possibly even happen? And this little brother proceeded to tell him the story of it. He said, well, they was out there and they was trying that fish and they'd run up to the dam and they had cut the motor and let the current carry them down. They was throwing out their jigs and bouncing them off the bottom. They was catching a few little fish, nothing to write home about. But they did that all morning, and this was up in the middle of the day, just a little afternoon, when Brother Jerry got this phone call. And Todd told him, he said, yeah, we decided we'd take a break and go from fishing and go eat our lunch. So we pulled around the back of this little island there, and he said he got close to the shoreline, and it was kind of shallow water. He threw out his anchor, and he said he pulled the boat up there and stepped out on the bank and walked up there about 20, 30 steps from the boat and sat down and kind of turned his back to everything, pulled out his sandwiches and started eating lunch. And he said that here about 20 minutes later, he just happened to turn around and look. And he couldn't believe what he saw, but he said that the water was gone. The Corps of Engineers had dropped the water level out of that river so low that his boat was just barely in. I mean, it was on the ground and just sloshing a little bit in the water. They run out there, and it was so much water gone and still leaving that they couldn't even begin to move the boat to get it back out in the water. And he couldn't believe what was going on. He didn't know the water was that fast. Well, he begins to panic. And he called his wife and told her if she could to find out what the Corps of Engineers number was. And she said, well, why do you want to know that for? He told her what had happened, and she's dying laughing. She is just laughing her head off and making fun of him for getting in such a mess. And he got ticked off at her and just hung up the phone on her, just shut it off. And when that happened, well, she did find the Corps of Engineers number. She texted it back to him, and he called it. And the man at the Corps of Engineers there up in that station up above the dam, he answers the phone, and little brother asked him, he said, when you going to put water back in this river? And the man said, what are you talking about? He said, are you up here this pontoon boat or something that's trying to lock through? And he said, no. He said, I'm on the backside of this island down below you here, and on Jackson Island, and we're on dry ground. He said, I got out to eat my lunch and turned around and look, and all the water's gone out of the river. How long is it going to be before you put water back in this river? And he said, well, sir, he said, I'm sorry, but it'll be around 7 o'clock tonight. And oh, brother, 7 o'clock tonight? What are you talking about? He said, I'm sorry, sir. He said, it'll be that long before we will be allowed to bring it back up again. And he said, good luck to you, and hung up the phone on him. Oh, my little brother was hot. He was livid. But anyway, he decided, well, here we are. So he goes out and he picks up a rod and reel out of his boat. And he thought, well, I come up here to fish. I'm going to try to fish. So he throws out and found out that whole place where was any water was shallow, wasn't but about 1.5 feet, 2 foot deep as far as he could throw. And then he hung and broke it off, and that made it even matter. And he just slammed his rod down in the boat and went back and sat down. And then that's when he decided he'd give me a call. Or give Brother Jerry a call. And so he gave Brother Jerry this call and let him know about what was going on. And Brother Jerry was livid with laughter. It tore him up. He was beside himself. He laughed till he cried. And he couldn't do nothing about it but just listen to it and imagine, what his brother was going through. But there he was, stranded like Gilligan with a USS Minna, stranded up there on the dry land. Here he was. So after he hung up, Brother Jerry decides to be real supportive like a brother is. So he started calling people. And he first when he called was a fellow named Andy, and Andy, he called and harassed little brother, and little brother was just mad about that. But then he called this guy, Brent Robertson. Now, Brent is a very talented individual, and he disguised his voice and made him think that it's the lockmaster calling him back from the Corps of Engineers. So he called up, and he said, sir, are you in that boat stranded down there on that island? Said, I'm the lockmaster, and he said, yeah, I see. So, yeah, I see you now. And he said, would you explain to me exactly what took place? So little brother goes, spills it all out again, tells him the whole thing, listens to him, and then Brent, he says, well, you poor son of a gun, and he hung up the phone on him. The little brother was livid all over again. So there he was stranded, like I said, Gilligan, stranded on the island, and he waited, and he waited. He waited over 6 hours till they finally, he said he could hear water kind of rushing a little bit, and it done got slap dark. And he said, what aggravated? He said there was people all day long out there where there was water that would drift by and wave at him and smile and laugh and point at him and just all this kind of stuff. And he had to put up with that all day long, and then put up with all these phone calls from everybody harassing him. And the real lockmaster couldn't do a thing about it, so he waited, and it done got dark and been dark over an hour, and he finally hears water coming back in, he thinks. So he goes back down there, and it seems to be enough water back in the river that he could kind of push the boat back out, and they got in it, and they the landing was just straight across the river inside. All day long he could see where he could have got out, but he couldn't do nothing about it. But anyway, he just right over there on the other side, and he gets out and goes home. But poor little old brother Gilligan had to learn a lesson about patience that day, whether they liked it or not. But anyway, that's my story, and I think it's kind of funny too. But because I know Todd, and I know how upset he got, and I just think it's funny. But anyway, Brother Jerry going to come back here, and if he can do it without laughing, thinking about that memory of his brother, he's got a little parable he's going to share with you about that. And just hang around, and he'll be right back with you. Well, hey, everybody. It's good to be back with you. It's been a little while, like Bubba Batman said, but I wanted to get back with you today, and after kind of got things stored away after hunting season, kind of getting fishing on our mind a little bit, I just told Bubba Batman that story about my little brother, and man, he got himself into a fix that day, and we called him Gilligan for quite a long time about that, because of what happened. And just about all of us that are aware of that story still kind of rib him about it every now and then, and don't plan on stopping, really. But anyway, that's just the way we love each other around here. We never let each other forget about our misfortunes and tragedies like that. But now, brother learned a lesson today that on a more serious note, he had to learn it the hard way, but about patience. Patience has been said to be a virtue, and a lot of people pray for patience, something like this: Lord, give me patience and give it to me right now. And we live in a very impatient world, impatient society. Everything is instant gratification. We want things, we want it now. The word NOW is a big word in our lives. We don't like waiting. People don't know the luxury of a good meal by having to wait for it. They want to stick it in the microwave and have it right now, or buy fast food, or on and on we could go with all the different ways that we avoid having to wait for anything. When we pull up to a traffic light, it's awful. Or pull up to an intersection and there's a train, and having to wait for that train to get through, And we just don't like waiting. Wait is a bad word. But patience is something that we need to get through life in a lot of different ways, and even in our relationships with each other and how that we treat each other. We need to be patient with one another. I know that God tells us in His Word, He said, be still and know that I am God. We just need to be still sometimes and be patient with things. And the Lord has a way of trying to instill patience within us, and James had a lot to say about it in James chapter 1. He said in verses 2 through 4, count it all joy, my brethren, when you fall into divers temptations, knowing that the trying of your faith works patience. But let patience have its complete work, that you may be complete and entire, lacking in nothing. You know, being a patient person is a good thing, and we need more people that are patient, and patient through their trials and patient with others as well. You know, because God is very, very patient with us. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9, Peter tells us that the Lord is long-suffering to us. We're not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. You know, I'm very glad God's patient with me. He was patient with His apostles, patient with Peter. Peter would often just fly off and say and do things without thinking. He was very impetuous. But the Lord told him one time, He said, the devil would like to have you, the group of you apostles, that he could sift you like wheat. But He said, Peter, when you have turned again, when you're really converted, He said, you strengthen your brethren. Because the Lord was patient with Peter in spite of all the mistakes that he made, and He's patient with us. The Bible has other things to say about patience. I want to turn to the Colossian letter, chapter 3, and read to you, beginning in verse 12, what the Apostle Paul said along this line. He said, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these things, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. So patience is necessary. It's a part of the description of being Christ-like, and that's what the word Christian means. So sometimes we go through hard times, and we don't want to wait. We want it to be over with right now, just like little brother wanted to hurry up and get that water back in that river so he could either go back to fishing or either just get out and go home. Anything but there. But patience is something he learned that day, and we all need to learn it through life. Well, that's our parable for the day and our story, and we encourage you to, if you haven't already, to subscribe to our channel and give us some likes and shares with others and help our channel to grow. And we'll have more stories to share with you. Bubba, Batman will be back to share those stories with you, and hopefully I'll be back to teach a parable or a lesson from it that'll be of serious encouragement to you in a spiritual way. But take care, be patient with one another, and just remember how patient God is with you, and be thankful. God bless you, and have a great day.